Okay, so in this video we're going to have a look at Google Sheets. So here I've just launched into Google Sheets. You can just go to sheets.google.com. They'll have the same templates, the same choices of everything else. So it's the same as a lot of other things, so I didn't need to show that to you again. But here in Google Sheets, you can do a lot of cool stuff. And really there's so much you can do with Sheets that I can't show you all of it. I think it would take way too long. So I'm just going to show you how to find everything, show you how to do a few of the basic functions that we use quite often as teachers, I guess. And then from there, it's really about you exploring to find a few other things. So I'll also show you a few kind of tricks as we go as well, which hopefully you'll find helpful. So first up here on the left, let's just give it a title, test 1. And then let's just pretend that this first tab, so down the bottom you've got your tabs, is going to be used for our attendance records. So attendance, and then we just need our students' names, and then let's just do this by weeks. Could do it by something other than weeks. Now you'll see here I'm just going to put in 2, and then I'm going to highlight both of them, grab this little thing in the bottom corner. Once I get the plus signal, drag it across, and then I've got my 11 weeks. Probably don't need 11. And then you'll have to enter students' names. I'm just going to do name 1 and 2, and then do the same thing here. So highlight those, and let's say I have 20 students in my class. Okay. Now another thing that you might like to do is have the top row freeze, or maybe the first column freeze. And the way to do that, you'll see here on the right hand side there's 2 thick lines. If you just grab that thick line and drag it down, that'll freeze the top row. And if you take this line, grab it, drag it across one, but you can drag it as far as you like, but just one generally, and then that'll freeze everything. And so now when I scroll up and down, you'll see the top stays there, that top row, and if I go side to side, again, the first column will remain there already. Now you may also like to turn it into more of a table. So up here you can click this, and that will add your borders. So let's add all of them, for example. Okay. Now if you want thicker borders, let's say for example I want this to have a thicker border around it, then I might go here, change the color it is. So this is the width, and I might click that one. And so now I've got a thicker border around there. And I can do the same down here with a thicker border that goes there. So just go, yep, make sure it's the same, thicker border. So now this is going to have a thicker border, but these will have a thin border, in case you want stuff like that. Another cool little trick, just if you don't know this already, to get these to the right size, you can just go through and double click them. Once you have this double arrow for moving the line around, just double click it. It'll shrink down your weeks. And it will do that basically just so that it's the right size for whatever the largest thing is in that column. Now in these columns, because we're marking the role, for example here, I might insert, and you'll see checkboxes. So insert a checkbox. Now on all these filled with checkboxes, let's go drag that down. And if you want all of them filled with checkboxes across, there you go, now they all have checkboxes. So that's quite nice, easy thing to do there. And then you just go through and you can check them off. And then of course, an easy way if you're marking the role here would be just to drag that down and mark the people who are actually absent. Tends to be faster. Right, and then if you have to do it for the next day, drag it across, right, and unmark and remark the ones who are there. And you can do that all over the place. It's a nice easy way to do a role to check for attendance in your class. Now let's add a new tab. So I'm going to add a new sheet here, and I get another tab. See, this is another tab within the same document, so you can have almost as many as you like. You probably won't run out. I think you can have up to like 500 or something, so more than is needed. Okay, so now let's say that we are going to monitor our students' assessment tasks. So here, rather than going over here and copying and then pasting it back over here. What I'm actually going to do, well, let's just do the first one. I'm just going to say, press the equals, go over to attendance, and it's going to equal that first column, first square, which it won't let me select. Let's just go up, there we go. Select that first one, press enter, and then I'll bring it across, but then I can do the same thing and drag it down, the first 20, and it's just copying that across from here. And so you actually see now if I change this name to name 100, so if I had to correct some child's spelling, it'll automatically correct it over here for me as well. It's just a nice way to make sure that everything is consistent. And now let's say that these are the assessment tasks. So you might have 3 or 4 of these, for example, 1, 2, 3. And notice now these don't fit. So now if I double click here, it'll actually make them bigger to cater for it. The other option is that I could also highlight the whole thing or just highlight the tab and go up here on the right, and you'll see text wrapping. And if I click that, it'll put it onto a second line. Now if I don't like that, I just have to drag that out so that they fit, and then double click and it'll make it the right size again. So there we go, I have my assessment tasks, I have my students' names down the left here, and now I'm just going to chuck some data in here for a second, and then we'll go through and use some conditional formatting to have a look at that. Okay, so now we have some data that's been put in here for what our students actually have achieved. And so we're going to do a few calculations and do some formatting here. So I said we start by doing some conditional formatting. So we're going to start by just highlighting these numbers. Then we're going to go to format, click conditional formatting. Then over here, it's got the cells. And now I'm going to actually use a color scale. You can either enter multiple rules for this. You could use a color scale. You can do it however you like. I'm going to use a color scale because I want it to basically be graded. See how it's now got different depths of green. So the minimum value, minimum point, maximum value. All right, so the maximum value, let's make that a bright green. Oh, sorry, minimum, you can adjust as well. So if you make that red, and then you'll get the shading scales in between for how they're going with their colors. You could also change that to maybe an orange. Give you another look at how they're going. You can see the ones where students have done better or where students have done worse. So that's conditional formatting. That's nice and quick, easy way to do that. I could choose here to cancel that. Okay. Now I can do this another way by highlighting everything. Go to format, conditional formatting, and now I'm going to have 3 different rules. Rather than using the color scale, I'm now going to have 3 different rules. So if they get greater than or equal to 38, then they can be green. Add another rule where if they get between 38 and 30, then we'll make it yellow. But if they get less than or equal to, what did I say the number was? I can't remember. And we can make that one orange, for example. Click done. And so now I can see where my students are at in terms of their actual marks that they're achieving and what I should be more worried about or less worried about in terms of how they're going. Now, it's also important that you, as a teacher, might like to know their average. So you can go in here. You see this little FX button here? That is generally used for functions. So we're going to go up here and go insert. And we want a function. And we want to find, oh, here we go. Let's do it here. There it is, average. So average, it'll normally automatically do it, but let's just highlight those 3. Press enter. And now see how this has got lots of decimal places here. These 2, so decreasing and increasing decimal places. Let's decrease decimal places. I don't want any. That's the average. Scroll that down. There's our average score. Now if you'd like to get the percentages for each of the assessment tasks, just go here, highlight this. You can insert a column. So insert one right. Boom. So here we go. This is the percentage, and so the percentage equals 30 divided by 45 times 100. Click enter. Don't like the decimals. Let's drag it across. Okay, and then drag it down. Boom. Okay, now obviously these are all a lot higher. You might want to create a new lot of rules for this to tell you because it's out of 100. Okay, and you could do that the whole way across. You could have your average percentage as well, and you can also work out your average for each of the actual assessment tasks. So just go to insert, function, average, highlight. I want the average of those ones. There we go. Average is 31 out of 45. So if you want your average percentage, equals 31 divided by 45 times 100. So it's a nice, it makes it more visual with the conditional formatting. You get your averages. This is your percentage average, and you can do those kinds of calculations in here. I actually quite often will come into Google Sheet to do a calculation because sometimes finding my calculator takes too long. So just let's run through a few of the other things that are in here that you might decide to find useful as well. So if you go to File, we can obviously share. You got all your new stuff from within here, so you can create a new spreadsheet, etc. You can open, you can import data, for example. You can make a copy of it. You can download it as a PDF if you want to, or as a CSV or Excel file. You can email it to people. You can make it available offline. You can go through and have a look at the version history, like all your docs, rename it, publish it to the web, have a look at your document details, spreadsheet settings. So if you click on your settings, you'll see what this is my problem that comes up all the time for me. You probably won't have this problem because someone probably would have set that correctly for you. So Australia, and then have a look at your calculations. Say that's all fine. Right, click save. And what that'll do basically is just when I want something to be a date, for example, it'll just fix the date system so that it's done day, month, and year rather than month, day, and year. Click edit here. This is where you undo, copy, paste, etc. You can delete rows, you can delete columns, you can add columns, you can shift things up and around. You can remove checkboxes and clear notes and stuff. So one thing that you might notice too, if you want to, let's say I wanted my percentage actually to go before my average, I can click there and drag it up and it'll just move it up. So same here for these averages and percentages. If I decide I actually wanted this percentage before the assessment task, you can just drag things around. It makes things nice and easy. And you know you can drag it when you get the hand. You'll see the hand clenches and then you can move it around. Click on view. You can freeze all your rows and columns, but there's an easier way I've showed you to do that. Put in your grid lines. You can create protected ranges. That's a really good thing too if you're going to share things with other people. So let's say, for example, I'm going to share this with multiple teachers and they're going to be only putting in the results for their class. You might not want them to be able to edit or change the results for other classes. And so if this is my class, for example, I might decide, so I might highlight this and decide it's going to become a protected range. And so we'll just protect range by right clicking. So enter the description, assessment, task 2 results, right. And then you can set the permissions. So only I can edit it. I can customize it, so who gets to edit it. I can copy permissions from another range or show a warning when editing this range. Let's do that. Okay, and so now when someone wants to change this, they'll get a warning that comes up. Oh, there you go, heads up. Okay, so that's protected ranges. Go into insert. You can insert all kinds of stuff. Inserting a chart can be really important. So let's say I want the percentages for all of these tasks. So let's just insert. Okay, so now that I've got my average percentage in, now that I have my percentages in for these results as well, what I can then do is create a chart. So now what I actually want to do, I'm going to highlight that like this, and then press Control and highlight that one, keeping Control down, highlight that, and then I'm going to go Insert Chart. And so here we are, we have our own chart, and so each of these will be the student, so name 1, 2, 3, and then they go in the whole way across. Now it hasn't labeled the x-axis, so they're all the percentages. The add an x-axis is this, and now they're named. So this is their average and how they're progressing with their results as a percentage. So this is what you want to see, is the steep vertical incline. You don't want to be seeing this kind of decrease. That's a student who looks like they put in for the first assignment and then got bored or didn't like the rest of your subject, or maybe they just got lost or were sick or something. But these are all just made up anyway. But so this is another handy way to have a look at things. Now you'll also notice that it's been put into this sheet already. What you can do is click here, and what I want is for the chart to move to its own sheet. And there we go. Now it's a lot better, a lot easier to have a look at. You can edit it. So checking out whether it's set up horizontally, etc. You can customize it in terms of what different chart you might like. You might want a 3D type chart. You might like to maximize it, or you might put it in compare mode or anything like that. But yeah, you can just flick through here and have a look. You can change the names of things. You can create series and legends, all that kind of stuff. This is the legend up here, by the way. That's a nice way to look at your data, particularly when you're analyzing it. Another set of data that you might like to be able to do is to create what's called a pivot table. All right, so I'm going to highlight it, and I want my pivot table. So I'm going to go here and go to data, and I'm going to choose pivot table. So we want a new sheet, and that's what it's going to use. I'm going to click create. And so now in a pivot table, what you get to do is you just get to go through and change things, so and filter it. So now I'm going to select the rows. I want their names, add values, percentage value. Okay, and now what they've done is they've added it up. You don't want that, you want the average. Okay, that's the average percentage at the bottom there. And then I can filter it. So I can go here and click add a filter. So I can filter it by that's the average. It's currently showing all items, but I actually want it to show the ones that are quite low. So all the people who got below 50, let's put all the people who got below 60, just so we get a few more. Click OK, and now it just filters it down to those students. So you can see how this can be quite good when you're analyzing students' results. To actually have a look at the students who struggled in particular things, and you can filter it by what they struggled with, and it all just depends on how you've set up this sheet back here and all the columns and that kind of stuff, for then how you then go about with your pivot table to adjust it to have a look at who's doing what and how. Now, another thing you might want to do on anything is to actually sort it. So if I choose this, so let's go to data, sort column A to Z, so it'll be by their name, or I can go sort the sheet by, let's go sort range, and now data has a header row, so let's not do that. So we want it to be a column H, because that's where our average is, and sort. So that's my warning, because I protected that range, and now it's just all been moved so that they're now sorted by the lowest to the highest average across their results. Again, a nice thing to do when you're analyzing students' data, etc. Now let's just continue through here. We've had a look at insert, we've had a look at formatting, You can align things to the right or to the left, all that kind of stuff. This is all quite basic. When you're doing numbers, you can choose whether it's automatic, which is what it'll be set on normally. But if you don't like the automatic, let's say I wanted this to actually be a date, click date, and it would convert 38 into a date. I don't know how it got 5th of the 2nd, 1900s, but probably because it's the average, right? So that's, and then just click undo to get it back. But just will convert your data into the type of data you like, and that's also here with the drop down menu. So that's your data. You can group data together as well. You can get rid of the white space if you want to. So data. You can do named ranges as well, which can be good. We've done this. Splitting text into columns is quite good. So for example, if I want this text to be split, I could go up here to data, split text to columns. Now, I should have done it by space, but it did not do that. Separator, space. There we go. So now if you wanted, for example, their second name and first name separate, you could do that. Go to custom and you could choose a separator, or you could just not separate at all, which is fine also. Okay, so that's splitting text. You can remove duplicates, which can be really good if you have, someone has been doubled up by accident, and then you can group things together and you can connect data. Tools. Now here you can actually create forms from a sheet. So if you have a Google Sheet that has a whole bunch of questions along the top, you can click create form and it will automatically take all the questions on the top and turn them into questions in a Google form for you. Saves you having to double up if you happen to have it already in a spreadsheet. There's script editor, which you won't use very much. You can create macros. Now macros basically are creating shortcuts that will do certain functions for you. So if you find yourself doing the same things over and over and over again within Sheets, you can just record a macro, and then when you want to apply it, you just, whatever the shortcut is that you've attached to that, you do that. So for example, if I click here, I'm recording a new macro. So what I want it to do is to just highlight this. This is my average, and I want conditional formatting. So, and I want, if it is less than 50, then it should be red. Done. Okay. Now save. Untitled macro. I'm just going to call this highlight below 50%. Okay. And now you can see there's a shortcut, Control Alt Shift, and then just pick a number 1, save. Okay, so now I've got this new macro that's saved because I've been using it a lot. And so now if I go here and I just delete that one, close that, I can then just go, all right, highlight that and go Control Shift Alt 1, running the script, continue, give it my permission, and there we go. It's now been run and that's created this lovely conditional formatting for me. So if you record your set conditional formatting, you can do that. You can then apply that to anything straight away. Now beyond tools, you also have add-ons. Now add-ons are just fantastic for Sheets, and there's so many of them. Some of the ones I like to use a lot. Autocrat I use particularly for, it's essentially a mail merge system that you set up. So I'll give you a video that will walk you through how to use that, but I use it, for example, creating invoices and stuff. Doctopus is really cool. It will link to your classroom. It'll help you to create your rubrics that Gubrick uses as an extension. There's Flubaroo, which is really good if you've used your sheet to record quiz results. Super Quiz, that's creating stuff, another mail merge. But you can get add-ons, just click there. And then once again, you can just browse through here and have a look at all the different add-ons that are in here. And you can stick whatever you want. So here, look, there's a gradebook add-on, for example. You might want to chuck that in there. That'll be nice and easy thing for you to use. Connect sheets to each other really easily. Have a look at CRMs, which are recommended for G Suite there. Form Maker, so going from a sheet to a form more easily. All that kind of stuff. So just have a look through, see what they do, and see if it's something that you would like to use. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show you within Google Sheets. Obviously, there's a lot more that they can do, and you can see a lot of shortcuts here for some of the stuff. So printing, this is paint formatting, how you're zoomed in, your currencies, type of fonts, sizes, etc. This is your coloring in of cells. So I can make a completely different blue, right? This is your borders. These are cell mergers. So let's say I want to actually put these two cells together. I can click that. It'll only keep the cell on the left and at the top. So I don't want to do that, but you can easily do that here. I'll do it to these two here. Click merge. It won't even warn me that time because there's not two numbers. And that's beautifully done. And then I can center that in the middle that way too. I could do text wrapping or make it just flat horizontal. You can rotate the text too. So this is particularly good if you have things like assessment tasks, which are long text, but they only use a short amount of numbers. I can do it vertically, and then that's a lot smaller, or I could change that to being on an angle. Yep. And if I make them all on an angle, it'll then save me space, and I can go through and do this kind of thing. Oh, yeah, cancel because it's protected range, and I can have all that on my angle, etc. If I want to link things, so let's say I want to link the average to another spreadsheet or anything, you can just paste the link in there. You can have a look. You can link to other bits. See that this is my attendance, so average, I might link that, for example, to sheet the chart and apply. And so now if someone actually clicks here, it'll take them to the chart. That's a nice little thing that's in there. Go back to sheet 2. Yeah, this is your chat function. You should know how to use that by now if you're using, this isn't your first course. Insert charts, create a filter, which is really cool. And then your functions, which are all your averages and that kind of stuff for when you're calculating things. So that's Google Sheets. Hopefully you'll see how you can use this in your classroom, or at least use it for yourself as a result of things you do in your classroom to get quick snapshots of what students know, don't know, or whatever, and then make adjustments to your teaching. This is really good for formative assessment type practices for you to then track, how they're going with their, set up some conditional formatting to see what color they are and how they're progressing with their scores.